Okay, we're continuing our series at the moment on talking Planet Hoth in the Star Wars universe in relevance to Disney Infinity. And on this episode, we thought we'd start to discuss the toy box, specifically the unlocks that are available to purchase and or come unlocked in the toy box, and also the texture disc and the Skydome disc. And again, for those Star Wars fans that may not have played Infinity before, these are discs that you put on the Infinity Reader that unlock the theme, I guess you could say. And there's two. One changes the sky effectively, and one changes the entire look of all the ground textures and so on. And I think that's a good place to start. So Dan, as the artist on the team here, how would you represent the Hoth look as far as the Skydome and the texture on the grounds for Planet Hoth?
That's at least it's not an open-ended question. Well, it's not that open-ended because we're dealing with Hoth. So I think this is. I know I'm not being very creative here, but I would stick very close to the film's representation. Maybe not super photorealistic because a lot of those background plates were paintings and they were stunning. You know, for years I've had the Art of Star Wars books, and you can see the artist's paintings, and they're just beautiful. But they do have a very slight kind of, you know, painterly style to them, and I imagine just those sweeping mountains. I think keep away from the expanded world of Hoth that you can read about on the internet and in the expanded universe with the volcanoes and what have you, because most people would just look at that and go, "Why is there a volcano on Hoth?" I would keep it very much to the film look, and I would have the blue sky, you know, with the clouds, the fluffy clouds, and just those epic mountains just with the rocks in them, and it almost looks like a Bob Ross painting, you know. So, you know, some happy little mountains and some happy little trees. You know, but that's, and the ground textures, it'd be tricky not to tread into, apart from the trees and stuff, which wouldn't be in there for Hoth, but it'd be tricky not to step into the frozen territory, because they've already got a snow world in there as far as textures.
That's a good
So
point too. Although that's more icy than snow from memory. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah. Anyway, Logan, you were
winter
saying?
precipitation, winter precipitation. I know you guys in Australia don't get it much, but I mean, like, the only thing I would add to this is, and I think it would, in the end, I think it would take away from the Sky Dome, but I think it's something I would want to add to this, is active weather, you know, because in Hoth, it's so blizzardy and so much moving snow. Like, I would like to see that, but if that were happening, then your visibility should only be really short, therefore you wouldn't see a real Sky Dome.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. Actually, I love the idea of a dynamic weather system that, and also a fog of war. It'd be really cool if you could actually in a toy box set the distance of a fog of war or a visibility distance. That would really help. Yeah, to bring you even further into a world. We know we've got in 2.0 a snow generator, but it's all but pretty much useless as far as my tests are concerned. It's like not a very big area that it affects, and it doesn't seem to be constantly on. I haven't played around with it too much, but it's certainly not to the level that I think you would want for a really cool Hoth snowstorm.
it's
Right.
a personal flurry generator.
Oh, my own personal flurry.
I think you're absolutely right. I would love to see a dynamic sky dome where you got like waves of weather, or you got a weather generator like you can do the sky changer. You could do a weather changer within that sky dome. That would be cool to have that kind of minimal visibility for a challenge. If you had to find targets or get through it, if your health got eaten up faster through it, you know, you could set challenges. Your health could get eaten up faster depending on whether you're in a vehicle or on a tauntaun.
Yeah.
So that would be very cool too. So the ability to have that and have it whether it's activated when you run through a box or whether it's random.
And I would also
brilliant idea,
add,
Logan.
it would also be cool to have a mechanic where we could see footprints being left behind. They don't have to be permanent footprints, but it'd be nice to have a mechanic where you could see deep footprints from the different characters or whatever being left in the snow. That'd be also kind of add to that, you know.
Well, I'm not a programmer, so I might be eaten alive in the comments, but considering they can do that for Hulk smashing the ground and Venom, I don't imagine that would be too hard.
Yes, I concur. Like, yeah, big slap on the wrist if they don't do that. Is that what you're saying?
But I think, you know,
called it.
People should just boycott the game. You know, this is no light topic we're talking.
So,
but I like the idea of them disappearing as well, because in the snow that you could.
Yes,
you know,
well, that's a good point. Then they are
you know?
going to, again, not big snow person here, but I think I like the idea of the that look, the texture, the blue sky, and I actually think it would really lend itself well to the blockiness of the Disney Infinity toy box for some reason. Like, I'm just remembering it again. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I'm just remembering the battle specifically. There was a lot of trench warfare and stuff, wasn't there? And them sort of hiding behind things. I think that'd look really cool. Like, with like, again, you're gonna have to help me out, but didn't they have like something similar to sandbags or something? Wasn't it very sort of sandbaggy type?
I think it was ice carved.
I think it was,
but not
yeah, it was
sandbaggy.
carved ice blocks,
and lots
yeah.
of tubing. Apparently, they needed lots of power and cable TV in the trenches, because there's just tubing of cables everywhere.
Yeah, I think that could look. I think they could do that really well, and I think it'd be a very, you know, pleasing look as far as that is concerned. It suits that toy box layer, and again, you think back to that essence of playing toys. What's you know, what's more childlike than building forts? And that's effectively what it would be, building yourself these ice forts to protect yourself from a home base, to protect yourself from the invading enemy.
Well, what I hadn't thought about as well is that Battle of Hoth is basically a sky dome. You've got a surrounding mountains and a big flat toy box area. Like, it's a perfect area to set up a challenge or a battle or something. It's just, if you had a toy box with the sky dome with the mountains around the edge and then a white texture, you basically have the Battle of Hoth.
Yeah.
You know, stage.
Yeah.
And then you can stage whatever you want in there. And I think, and just going, what we were talking about in the last episode, if we were talking about the toy box in there, I'd want the AT-ATs at full size. I wouldn't want the mini ones sitting on top. I want big walkers. Yeah. But I'm getting off topic.
Yeah, we'll get onto that. Well, what about actual? Yeah. So, what actual items that we got in this toy box? Like, imagine, because from memory, again, the whole point of that battle was they were trying to shoot shield generators or something. Is that right? They were trying to destroy shield generators. So you'd need that as a toy in the thing to have as something to blow up. That would be the goal. You could place that somewhere, and if that gets destroyed, that's the end. That can be a trigger to end your toy box. So that would be one of the major. What are they called in Disney Infinity? Something like set pieces. What are they called? Anyway, there's these particular things in the toy box that are for iconic icons. So there's things like the what do you call it? The Space Mountain and the It's a Small World facade, like iconic looking buildings and stuff that are a whole piece. So that would be one. What about the spawn generators? Like what enemies would be spawning, do you think, in the toy box?
Snow troopers.
Yeah, you'd have snow troopers for sure. Snow troopers, Whompers, probe droids.
And what about the guys? I can't remember who are the guys that had like those weird helmets. They were like, wasn't that in the
coming down? That's the snow troopers.
Snow troopers.
Isn't there a different outfit in the Hoth scene? Didn't they have like a sweeping sort of big helmet that went back?
The Rebellion
didn't
like
have
much money. They all had the same uniforms.
Right, okay, cool. Well, anyway, we could have good guys of those, whoever those guys were, would also, a friend generator would generate those types of
guys. They were even having trouble adapting their speeders to the cold. You know, they weren't doing well. Yeah, they went up to the uniform shop and they're like, I'll have some armor and a helmet. They're like, we got scarves. You can all get a scarf.
The Empire had all the money, so they had all the cool uniforms.
I think Dan mentioned in the last show about the interior elements, I guess, too. It would be good to have that, you know, that what's it called? What's the station they were in?
The Rebel Base.
With the Rebel Base.
Yeah.
Rebel Base interior sections would be also awesome.
I like, yeah, the ice carved circular, tunnels. That would be cool for an interior and stuff like that.
You could even
Hallways
have
and stuff.
the conduit and the tubing running along them, so when you
Right,
join them
right,
up, it
right.
look like you could have them like sagging in each piece, so that when they
mhm.
joined up, it looked like it was running down the hallway. But
And
as
then
well
you
as
can also have
building,
like a bay room with like an X-wing in it or something, or yeah.
well, you could have, if you had mounts and stuff, and we're getting off topic a little bit here, but you could
Yeah.
have like them all spawned in that big bay room, in that big hangar.
Right,
And that could be where you start a race or a challenge, or where you go from inside to outside and stuff like that.
right.
That could be cool. But you could also have the rebel guns, like the big guns, and then there's the ion cannon, the big
Yeah, the
one they shoot in
satellite
space
dish
with.
looking, yeah.
Or it was a big orb with a gun out of it. It was like a big sphere.
Yeah.
You could have the ion cannon, but also the guns they had shooting at the walkers, the big
Yes.
sort of tower guns. You could have all that sort of stuff and set them up like the Asgardian turrets.
Yes, because obviously, I mean, it's number one gameplay that it lends itself to is that tower defense style of gameplay. I mean, that would
Capture
be
the flag type stuff.
yeah. It's obviously very built towards that style of gameplay. It doesn't have to be, but because obviously you could have racetracks and stuff in that Hoth, that Hoth format, and it'd be pretty cool racing. The speeders and stuff like that on that. But
Absolutely.
well, is there anything else, Dan, you think that we need to discuss as far as the toy box before we move on to the obvious vehicle power discs and stuff like that?
The last thing I'd probably add is just the generic building blocks. I think it'd be cool to see like some collapsible blocks in white. So when you blew them up, you'd get like a build-up of snow. You could instead of them just disappearing. I like the idea of having a collapsible block where they didn't almost disappear. So as you built it, you had to be careful not to cave in doorways or cover doorways with the building. So dynamic, kind of breakable snow, if you will. It'd all be like cubed and what have you. It'd be stylized, but that's where I was thinking as well. So you could build things, and if you shot it in the right way, you could collapse a whole enemy's tower as well if you shot it the right way. So you could build some strategy-based elements in there as well. But that's the only thing I had to add.
Logan, have you got anything you want to add finally on the topic? No?
Not really. I mean, we've covered most of the base.
Well, I'm sure there's something we've missed. So if we've missed something really obvious in Hoth, let us know in the comments, and we'll bring it up in our later commentary show. And yeah, we're probably going to move into our vehicles in our next show. So make sure to click like and subscribe so you don't miss out on that show. And we'll talk to you then. Thank you.
Thanks for watching.